Yo, it's about to be a whole thing. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nom. I'm ready for this one. I'm actually so ready. This topic that I'm talking about today, unfortunately, I don't get to speak about a lot, and it's not because I don't want to, but I find that sometimes people are just scared to ask the questions, and I can see them like itching, wanting to ask, and I'm just like, just ask me, and I will tell you because I honestly don't mind, and I actually like the questions. I think it's really lovely. I think it's cute because I'm like, oh, you're trying to get to know me, like a whole me, like thanks so much. You should already know by now that I'm in a wheelchair. Obviously I'm not in it right now, but that is only because it's just comfortable where I'm sitting right now. I mean, I have a very comfortable wheelchair, don't get me wrong. It's a really good one, like a really good one. It's actually one of the best ones out there. I'm not bragging, I promise, I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying. But just like anything, you know, if you sit on it for too long, it becomes uncomfortable. So when I'm in the house, I always take the opportunity to get out of it. So right now, I'm sitting on my dressing table chair and it's pretty comfortable. In this video, I'm gonna tell you basically how I ended up in a wheelchair and why I'm still in it. I'm gonna go through it very quickly, just in points. But behind every point, I promise you, there are some crazy stories which I will share at a later time. If you have any questions on anything you hear, just ask me in the comments and I will address it later on. But I'm excited to be doing this video, you know, because I think even for the people that know me or that think they know me, I think there'll be something for them to learn in this video. I'm going to jump straight in. From the age of about 2 years old, I started complaining to my family, saying my leg hurts, and I was struggling to walk, to crawl, to do the basic things that a 2-year-old should be able to do on their feet. Now, I was crying, holding on to my my right knee and saying that's where the pain was coming from. So then my family would take me to the doctors and they would x-ray the right knee and they kept saying nothing's wrong with this right knee. That went on for a number of years. Doctors and back, and doctors saying there's nothing wrong with this knee. Up to a point where my family, I think, even started to believe there was nothing wrong. So they just left it. Years just keep going by, and in those years I'm struggling. Like, guys, I cannot even tell you the amount of pain that I was in, but it was something that was just left because doctors would say nothing was wrong with me. So what were they forced to believe? And then up until the age of six, I think it was, my mum took me to a different hospital. They decided to take an x-ray of the whole leg, and in that x-ray they discovered, guys, I could not make this up if I tried. They discovered that my leg was broken and it rejoined itself that way. Mad. Do you guys realize I was walking on a broken leg for 5 years? That's crazy. That is actually crazy. But anyway, so they decided that they were going to operate to unbreak the bone, bring it back to where it was supposed to be, and put pins on either side to help it heal properly. So they admitted me into the hospital for the operation that was planned. I go for the operation. I wake up after the operation. They take me for an x-ray. They come back to me and the doctors say, I'm so sorry, but we did it wrong, so we need to take you back in. And I was like, huh? Wait. Pause. You did it wrong. Okay. So they take me back into theatre, and thankfully, this time they did it right. I come out, they said everything was going, went well, and now I just had to recover. A few days after my operation, I realized that something just isn't quite right with this scar that I had, right? So I looked down, and obviously because I like things, I opened the bandage, and guys, it was oozing. Like there was just pus coming out of it. This thing was just mad. It was a whole crazy madness. So I called the nurse over. I'm like, sis, like, I need you to look at this because I don't think it's right. I don't think this is how it's supposed to be. So anyway, she's like, yeah, no, this looks infected. And I was like, I mean,
duh.
Thankfully, they did very well in fighting my infection. I was there for, I think, a couple of weeks. I was discharged, went back home. I was healing very well. And guys, the relief that I had, I couldn't explain to you. Like, the pain that I had prior to the operation and the pain that I had after, I was still in pain, but it was nothing compared to what was before. So I was just happy. By the way, this all happened back in Zimbabwe where I was born. So I'm healing well. I've gone from 2 crutches to 1 crutch. Everything seems to be going well. But because of the number of years that I walked on this broken leg without it being resolved, it created a slight height difference in my right leg. So I was limping a little bit, but I was doing okay. So I had the operation back in Zimbabwe when I was 7. At the age of 8, we then came to England. Shortly after being in England, I had an operation to get the pin removed that was placed in my right leg because I was healing well and everything seemed to be okay. Fast forward a few years, I'm now in year 6, 12 years old. We go on a school trip that was organized for a few days with all of the year 6 group. So I'm at this school trip, everything is going well, we're having a good time, we're having activity after activity, and we're just having a ball. And then one day, we go on an activity day on the zipper line, zip wire, zipper line, whatever you call it, the ride where they strap you on and they push you down the rope until you get to the other side. So everyone's going on this zipper line, and you know, they're screaming, they're having fun, woo, ah, ah. I was just sitting there and I was like, surely I can't let them just have all the fun. Me too, I want to have fun. So I was like, guys, can I please go on the zip line as well? And they're like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I go on the zip line, everything is great. I'm like, woo, guys, I'm in the air. I look down, I'm seeing the ground was far. And I'm seeing all the trees. I'm just like, wee, living my best life. Everyone has had a go. And then they say to us, oh guys, we've got more time. Who wants to go again? Because I like things. Guys, I like things. I was like, me, I want. No, okay, that's fine. Let's go on. So they strap me back on the zipper line. Down I go. You know, it's all good. I get to halfway. I look down to the finish line. And I'm like, I don't think this is right. So basically, they pushed me down before they got the other person off. So here I'm coming at full speed and I crash. Guys, I crashed. I crashed into the stairs and the instructor that was there to take the other person down. Guys, I cannot tell you what that moment was like. I was just like, oh. That's literally all I could say was, oh. I looked down and all I could see was just commotion. There was just madness, people going crazy. All my classmates just confused, the teachers screaming, all my friends crying, screaming, no. I was like, these girls are not, yo. So of course the ambulance is called, it comes, they take me to the hospital, and you know the hospital's got some good stuff. You know the good stuff, right? So obviously they must have shot me up with some good stuff, and then I knocked out. I wake up and I have this cast that is from here all the way down to my right ankle. Obviously it was orchestrated so a girl can still use a toilet, thank God. The doctor comes and he explains that they rushed me to theatre, they operated on my leg. Turns out I had broken the same bone that I had broken before, near enough in the same place, and a couple of ribs. I was just in disbelief that this was happening to me again. I just remember thinking, this has got to be a joke. Someone is playing a joke on me. How have I ended up in hospital again with a broken leg, another operation, pins had to be put once again. It was just crazy. That break was what landed me in the wheelchair. Shortly after the whole ordeal, when I was back in my hometown, the doctors must have seen the x-rays and thought something isn't quite right here. So they decided to start doing some investigations, doing test after test. I saw multiple doctors. They then discovered that I have Osteogenesis Imperfecta. It's basically a condition that affects your bones. It's similar to brittle bones, but it just has more complicated things that come along with it. There are 4 different types of Osteogenesis Imperfecta. Whew, it's a mouthful. And I have type 4, which ranges from moderately severe to so mild that it's hard to diagnose. So obviously that's where I must have fallen on the scale, which is why it was so hard for them to diagnose it. I was a bit of a strange case for them because it seems to mostly affect my right leg, though the rest of my bones aren't as strong as somebody who doesn't have the condition. I actually stronger than somebody who has the condition. As you can imagine, the reality of now having to be confined in a wheelchair was so hard. You know, it was so tough for me to come to terms with, because before I felt somewhat normal, because yes, I wasn't 100%, I was struggling, but I was still on my feet. But now I was in this, and I was in this for the rest of my life, and it was hard to come to terms with. Years passed by, the pain I was in was just horrible. It was just unmanageable, and it was just increasingly getting worse. And it got to a point when my local hospital just kept dismissing me, and even, you know, they thought I was making it up. They thought it was all in my head. They even had a mental health team to come and look at me just to make sure that I wasn't pretending. And that was hurtful. That was really hurtful. But again, guys, I was like, why is this happening to me again? Why will no one believe that I'm in pain? Because I was in a lot of pain. This happened for years, up until about 5 years ago, when I was back in hospital. This time I was in there for 6 weeks because I was in so much pain, and they were just working on controlling the pain because there was nothing else they could do. My uncle, who is a nurse, came in one day, and he must have been doing some research, and he suggested they refer me to the National Orthopedic Hospital in London, who specialise in bones. It was tough for them to agree, because I think they didn't want to accept defeat, which was crazy, because I'm like, well, you're not doing anything for me, so just let me go. So the referral goes to the National Orthopedic Hospital. They send me an appointment. I remember reading about them and doing my own investigation, because I was just so hopeless. I just didn't believe that I was going to get the help that I needed. When I was reading, I found out that they're one of only 6 hospitals in the whole entire world that do what they do. So obviously they're a very good hospital. I go to the hospital. They request an x-ray. I go for the x-ray. After the x-ray, I'm then seen by a consultant, and I'm there, and you know, he's chatting, he's doing the pleasantries. How are you? How's life? And I'm just there like, yeah, no, you know, just tell me you can't help me so I can be out my way, because I've been through this, you know, for a long time. I knew how the script went. So anyway, within 10 minutes of me being in the room, and you know, he keeps looking at me, looking back at the x-rays, looking back at me, and he looks at me and he says, "You must be in a lot of pain." And I was like, whoa, what? I was like, what? I was so shocked that I'm sitting in front of a doctor, and he's basically validating and he's confirming that I'm in pain, which is something I've been screaming about for the previous years, and my local hospital dismissing me. So I sat there with the biggest smile on my face, and I'm sure he was confused, like, why is she smiling? But I felt relief, because I was like, oh my goodness, this person believes me. He goes on to explain that basically my right hip is not in a great state. Basically the hip socket has caved in and is breaking out, or it's just doing a madness. It's basically not what it's supposed to be. And I was just like, again, I was like, there is someone out there playing a practical joke on me. He was explaining it to me, and he was like, I can see that you have, you know, this condition, but what's kind of happening in your hip, the state that your hip is in isn't attached to the condition. And I tell you, this guy was so happy. He was like, you know, you're so rare, I'm so excited for us to figure you out, for us to help you, to relieve you of this pain. And I was like, oh my goodness. He told me that he would take my case back to the board. We know that has amazing doctors, and they would all sit around and discuss and try to find a way that, you know, where they could help me. But because it was a complex one, he did say it would take a while, and whatever they came up with would be drastic. Fast forward a few years, they came back to me and said, okay, so we've got this operation that we can do for you. The aim was to relieve me of the pain, which they said it would go a long way in doing it. But I was so scared. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in, and it was a big thing that they had to do. They put me on the waiting list for the operation. They called me for the operation. I put it off. They called me again for the operation, and I said, guys, I will call you when I'm ready. But guys, I was so scared, so terrified that I said no. They took me off the waiting list, but the pain was just, it was just unexplainable, unbearable. So anyway, last year they put me back on the waiting list because I decided that I couldn't live my life like this anymore, because my quality of life was being affected, and like they said, it wasn't going to get any better, and that was very clear to me. And so I had to take this step and put my faith in God to the test. And you know, if he allows it to go through, then I knew that it was the right thing to do. I went back on the waiting list for the operation last year, and they said that it was going to be about 3 to 6 months wait, 8 months at a stretch. My doctors actually suggested that I stop working because I was still working, because they obviously, with knowing what was happening, they knew I was in pain. But I was just like, no, you know, because I'm a keep going kind of person. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna stop work, you know, I've got to live life, you know, life must go on. But then things just weren't really working out. So I had to go to my manager and tell them that basically my doctors are going to sign me off because I'm not doing well. And it was a hard thing for me to accept. And at this point, guys, I was scared because I was like, yo, I'm ready to get fired. I'm about to lose my job. It's just going to be a whole lock off, right? I was really scared of what manager would say. But bless her, she looked at me and she was like, you know what, Nom, you're a strong person, but I can see that you're struggling. You're pushing yourself more than you should be. Take the advice of your doctors and look after yourself. Which was so nice because I didn't expect it, but I needed it. I do want to mention that another reason why I wanted to start this YouTube channel is because I really want to document this journey of my operation, the before, the during, and the after, because when I was in the valley of the decision whether I should do it, I shouldn't do it, I did a lot of research, try and find someone who had my condition or had the same situation with the hip that had gone through the operation, just to get some understanding and to help my nerves and to find out what their life was like afterwards. And I found nothing. Like, I found absolutely nothing, and that didn't really help me. So when I finally agreed to this operation, I thought, how beautiful would it be if I can do that for someone else? I just want to help somebody. So if somebody else ever finds themselves in a situation that I did, and they can do their research and come across my journey, and hopefully that would help them. So with the way that things were going, I was supposed to have the operation max by March of this year. But guys, COVID-19 came in and said, no, girl. Just no. So they said, obviously, with all that's going on with COVID, your operation has to be delayed. We don't have a day. We can't tell you roughly how long. You just have to wait until this whole thing clears up. So I have been waiting, and in that wait, honestly, I have been struggling. The pain has been so bad. Like, you know, daily tasks have become harder and harder, and I'm itching to resume my life, because right now I can't do anything. I can't plan anything until after the operation. Go back to work and travel. Oh, guys, I need to get on a plane. You don't understand how much I'm itching to get on a plane. Just hope that it is soon. My consultant called me a month and a bit ago just to say, you know, we understand that you've been waiting a long time. You are still in our minds. And that touched me, guys. I was like, oh, me. These doctors that went to medical school and are doing bits. Like, a whole me on their minds. I was like, oh my God, guys, stop. But I was just so grateful because I was like, okay, that reassured me. And they said, we're hoping that in the next few months, you will have your operation. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and my prayers fired up and just hoping that it will be at least this year, just so I can close this chapter and begin the next year afresh. I truly believe with everything in me that the next chapter of my life is going to be fire, you know. And yes, it's probably going to have its lumps because all the rest have, but I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it, and I know that no matter what comes, I'm going to be okay. I'm gonna get through it the same way that I've gotten through everything else. But yeah, I guess you could say I've been through some things. And honestly, guys, I've only told you snippets just for the sake of time, but I'm so excited to share even more with you on this journey that I'm going on with you guys. So stay tuned. If you have gotten this far into the video, I'm honestly so happy. I'm just so proud of you. But if you haven't already done so, I need you to subscribe to this channel, press the notification button, so when I release my next video, you will know about it. Like this video. Also, please comment with any questions you have. If there's anything I've said that you want to know more about, either put it in the comments, send me an email, or jump in my DMs with common sense, and I will address it as time goes on. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.